Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining the Streamline Your Tech Bootcamp Day 2. I am your host, Kat Milner, the Chief Tech Ninja for Simplify and Streamline Your Tech. I am very grateful that you are here this evening, and it is a delight to see you in the rooms. So we have a few new faces in the crowd today. So if you would just drop in the chat where it is that you're calling in from today, because it would be lovely for to see where everybody's calling in from. Okay. So if you could just drop that in the chat, that would be great. Okay. Callista's in Adelaide. Yay, Adelaide! Actually, full confession, Callista and I actually know each other, so it's wonderful to see you again here. Maya and I were talking a little earlier, and you said you were in Brisbane. Oh, Andrea's in Malaysia. Wow. Hi from Malaysia. So I'm curious, Andrea, how did you hear about the boot camp? Oh, because I know the ads are only in Australia at the moment. And okay, so I am so happy you're here. I'm not sure I have anybody on here from last night. So I'm going to actually drop some links into, no, not that one, into the chat for you, because last night we actually did some uh, information regarding your ideal client. And yes, whenever I start talking about the ideal client stuff, the first reaction is the eye roll and the face palm of, not again. I don't want to do that. I just want to get clients. But by the end of the end of the exercise and the end of the boot camp last night, everyone, not a problem. If you want to turn your camera off, that's totally fine. If you want to have it on, that's great, because that lets me feel more like I'm working to a live audience. But whatever makes you most comfortable, absolutely fine with me. So anyway, last night we talked about the ideal client, the niche, and the avatar. And as I said, usually the reaction to that is, oh, great, here we go again, yet another ideal client exercise. But by the end of the exercise and the end of the last night's boot camp, everybody was coming back to me and saying, wow, those questions are amazing. I have more clarity than I ever thought I could have on my ideal client. I've refined my niche, and I'm looking forward to working further with these documents to make that even more clear. So the upshot of that is you're going to get some hopefully better clarity and insight to who you want to work with and how you want to work with them. So that's yesterday, and there will be recordings of available for about a week after the boot camp, so that if you want to catch up with that, you can definitely do that. And so last night was all about, who are we talking to? With the point being that if you don't know who you're talking to, then you don't know who to market to, and everything that you do is just kind of wasting money, unless you know exactly how you're targeting that. So tonight we're going to be talking about lead magnets, and we're actually going to give you the idea and suggestion for 15 different lead magnets that you could create, that only take about 15 to 30 minutes to create. So if that sounds like a good idea to you, drop an L in the chat for lead magnet, and we're going to get on to doing that. So I'm going to drop in the chat here the link to the worksheet. So if you could click on that and let me know that you're able to download it. So when you click on the link, it'll bring you to a document. And in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see File. So click that. And then about halfway down, it'll say Download. Click that, and then click on Word Doc. So File, Download, Word Doc, and you should be able to save that onto your device so that you can fill it in. So if you could just drop a Y in the chat to let me know that you've downloaded that, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Okay. So going forward, again, kind of reviewing last night, what we did was go back. We did the ideal client description plus focusing on that area of niche is going to mean that you're going to be able to find, communicate, and draw in your best clients and your ideal clients. Okay. And one of the best ways to do that is to go into your lead magnets. And the way you attract clients is by what are called lead magnets. Now, I'm sure that everybody has probably already heard of a lead magnet. Drop an M in the chat if you've ever heard of a lead magnet, responded to a lead magnet, or used a lead magnet. And honestly, if you've ever signed up for anything online, you have joined a lead magnet. You have used a lead magnet. So the first, heard of but not used. Awesome. Callista, we are going to get you sorted out. You're going to have so many exciting ideas by the end of this session. You're just not going to know what to do with yourself, and we can help you with that too. So what makes a good lead magnet? There are a lot of things that go into a good lead magnet. So the first, and it seems like it would be common sense and obvious, but you'd be surprised how much of this is not common sense and obvious. So you want to make it relevant to your target audience. They should be able to perceive value, and you should be providing value to your clients to address whatever the specific problem or pain point is that they're working with. So they're going to look at that and go, oh, this is something that I really need. For example, maybe you work with people who want to stop smoking, and this is your top 3 tips to never start again once you've stopped, or something like that. It needs to be specific and focused. So concentrate on one thing in regard to your ideal client, because trying to cover more than one thing will confuse people. So for example, if your ideal client is someone who wants to stop smoking, but you also work with weight management people, if you try to do a lead magnet that says the top 3 tips to never smoke again and to control your weight, people are going to be like, what? They're just not going to get it, because they're not going to see themselves in it, because you're trying to address too many things. So every lead magnet should focus on one specific issue. It should have a high perceived value. So if your client feels that it's valuable, they're going to give you their valuable contact information. So if you are, let's go say it's that top 3 tips to never smoke again. Fabulous. This process is normally valued at $97, but just for this week, you're doing it for $9. And they're going to go, oh, okay. But you have to have that value and show them that value, and then show them that they're getting a no-brainer deal on it. And it needs to be easily consumed. So whether the format is an ebook, a PDF, a cheat sheet, a video, it needs to be quick and easy to access so that they can just go, do, be done. And one of the most important facets of an effective lead magnet is it has to be actionable. If you just say to them, oh, this is my top 3 tips to stop smoking, but it doesn't tell them what to actually do. Now, it doesn't mean that you give them the entire program in this lead magnet. It's one tiny little piece of a bigger picture. But the piece that they have to be able to put into use. Otherwise, they're not going to think that anything else you offer is going to be of use. So you have to make it actionable. Your tips and insights should be, they read it, they do it, they get a small result. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. So we'll try the next one. Read it, do it, get a small result. Oh my gosh, I have to work with this person. Okay. It should be well designed. It's pretty easy to get a decent design done in Canva on your own. Just use a template and recreate that to your own design. But make sure that it looks good, because for so many people, the lead magnet is the first introduction to your services, and you want to be a good first impression. And then promote it. Promote it through your website, social media, anywhere that you market. Use that lead magnet, get people to know you, and keep it simple. Name, email address. Everything else you can ask for later. Any questions on like what constitutes a good lead magnet before we move on to anything else?
No, that was really clear.
Okay,
Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah,
Thanks.
that's helpful.
Okay, cool. So we're going to go on to some examples of a good lead magnet. Things like a complimentary coaching session. A lot of coaches offer a free 30-minute example of their services. An ebook or guide. For example, if you're a career coach, 10 steps to landing your dream job. A small webinar or video series. So, like, for example, if you've already done like a webinar, you could take little chunks out of that and create a little mini series. You could do a quiz or assessment. People love doing quizzes. It's crazy how much people love doing quizzes. A checklist or template, a podcast or audio series. So now let's talk actual lead magnet ideas. So here are 15, pardon me, 15 simple lead magnet ideas. Each one can be created in less than 30 minutes. So for example, turn a high-performing blog or social media post into a PDF. Drop it into Canva, add a little sizzle and splash and sparkle, and it's ready to go. And the content's already done. You're just prettying it up. Give away your transcripts. So if you do a presentation on something, you can give away you can get a transcript done and give that away. There's a number of different programs out there. Descript is one of them. I'm going to drop that in the chat so that you have it. It's one way to get Descript is probably more about subtitles on your videos, but I believe you can also get transcripts from there as well. Otherwise, there are other places to do that. You could probably even drop it into Chat GPT and say, make me a transcript of this, so whatever. You can read your blog posts out loud and make recordings of them, make a series of them, and you can just do that on your phone and then upload them, and send them out to people. It's so easy. And because some people like really listening to things, other people like reading them. And so either of those. So if you do the same thing with the same post, one has a transcript, one has the audio recording, you're going to really cover different types of learners and people who prefer different things. You can create a quick checklist, and this can apply to pretty much anything. A how-to list, a must-have list, a can't-miss list. Canva has lovely checklist templates. So lately, for some reason, I've been seeing a lot of your must-read list, the top 3 business books to read this year. I've been seeing these everywhere. So it's a very popular format to use for lead magnets. And showcase your best in show content with a swipe file. So for example, if you're a business coach, maybe that's sales letters, emails, blog posts, or a list of your best tips to do X, Y, Z, whether it's losing weight, doing your makeup, whatever that could be. And a lot of this is for very right-brained creative thinkers. So you don't want to leave out the left-brain thinkers, the ones who like the analytics, the Excel spreadsheets, the schedules, the step-by-steps. They like it logical and clear and focused. So things for them are always a good idea. Give away a sneak peek of your course or membership. So, a little tiny piece of a much larger program. Show them the value in that one little piece, and they're going to want to know more about that greater program. So, again, we mentioned this earlier, you could do a sample of your service. You could give out a chapter of the book that you're writing. You could give templates. There's a whole host of things that you can do. You can procure a list. Great, 25 great subject lines for emails, your must read or watch list, your favorite things or tools to use, your top tips for creating whatever, your top strategies for doing this, and questions to ask before you do XYZ. Maybe it's how to qualify a client. Pardon me. The other thing that people absolutely love are recipes, how-tos, how to step by step. And by recipe, I don't mean cooking, although sometimes it can be that, but your step-by-step recipe to go from A to Z, your trade secrets on how to do, X, Y, or Z, and showcase your best offers and knowledge without giving away the entire thing. Give away your own personal routine. If you are successful, trust me, people want to know why you're successful and how you did it because they want to do it too. Anything you can do that's going to help people shorten the learning curve and make it less steep and save them the grief of having to go through making all the mistakes themselves, they want to know that, especially if you have already established that you are an expert and a success in your field. So things like how to overcome imposter syndrome, how to feel refreshed in the morning, productivity hacks. These are all things that people love. Another great lead magnet is to take content and turn it into an infographic, especially if the topic that you're working with is very complex. Turning that into a simple graph is friendly, it's approachable, and it's not nearly as overwhelming as the slides that I'm doing that are just all text. Give away your presentations. So for example, I could use the PowerPoint for this lead magnet bootcamp night as a lead magnet to say, hey, who would like 15 simple lead magnet ideas that you could create in under 30 minutes? Drop a Y in the chat if you would sign up for something like that. Exactly. It's so, anything that's going to make your life easier, you're going to want. So you can show the formula inside of the presentation. You can do even a mini slide deck. There's a lot of different options for things like that. Creating a top frequently asked question. It's a great idea every time you talk to a client or potential client and they ask you a question about your program or service, write it down. Include it in the list of frequently asked questions because that's going to do 90% of the heavy lifting to overcome the objections when you get to the sales process. I mean, how easy is that, right? Give away a valuable video clip. So if you have a presentation that you've done and there's some highlights in there that are really valuable content, and you have them, we all do. We all have those little moments of just gems. Take it out. There's a lot of different video editing softwares out there. If you want suggestions on some to work with, I'm happy to have that conversation. But definitely keep it under 20 minutes. Honestly, I would probably keep it under 5 if at all possible, just because drop a V in the chat if you are like me and you have a tendency to either try and speed through it a bit, or if you realize that it's going to be more than a couple of minutes, you kind of give up and go on to something else. So drop a V in the chat if you tend to kind of lose interest after a while. Yeah, exactly. I do that all the time. I was like, I'll start to watch it and I'll be like, oh, okay, this is interesting. The topic's interesting. Are they ever going to get to the point? I mean, unless it is really super compelling, you're going to lose people after a couple of minutes. So try and keep it short, sharp, snappy, and interesting. And the main thing is make sure you include a call to action at the end, whether that's booking a call with you, putting a comment in the chat, whatever that is, but make sure you have some kind of call to action at the end. And you can also use your favorite tools or resources, include affiliate links if you have them. There is absolutely nothing wrong with saying, hey, I get a couple of bucks if you happen to sign up under my affiliate link, because ideally we all want to help each other. So that is a lot of information. And so what I'm going to do is give you a couple of minutes to work on that worksheet that I sent you, and I'll drop that link in the chat again, just in case, so that you can use that. And I will see you back in a couple of minutes. Okay, just want to check in and see how everybody went with the worksheet. Were you able to get that downloaded okay, Maya?
Sorry, Kat. Yes, I did. I did work download the worksheet fine.
Mhm.
I just sorry didn't get the part where we have to fill in. Which
Okay.
part was
And
that?
that's okay. Honestly, if you're just reading it and getting ideas at this point, that's all good.
Oh, but which page was the page where we had to fill in?
Let me just have a quick look.
Because I only got to the end of page 3, which is
okay. Yeah, sorry. I didn't set this one up so it was like really easily fill-inable. It's not
Okay.
obvious. So it's like however you want to kind of work with that is whatever it is for you. So
Okay.
it's okay. So we're talking. Okay, so Andrew, you got the worksheet. Great, excellent. So yeah, so it's just a matter of, making notes on it, or whatever of what it is that you want to use to for your first lead magnet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Like,
sorry. I need to make that a little more clear. Thank you for that.
okay, no worries. Like maybe if you just did a page four and just say, okay, now have a think of
Yeah, and
which
and
one of
and
these
honestly,
magnets.
I shouldn't tell you guys this, but I'm gonna pause the recording for a second. Okay, so basically just work with the worksheet to get you some ideas. I did post up and I'll do it again, the worksheets from last night so that you have those as well, so that you can put everything together for your ideal client, your niche, your avatar, and then the lead magnets that are going to work effectively to really bring in those people. So the next section that I want to talk about is called the one thing. Okay. And that is, has anybody ever heard of Gary Keller, his book, the power of the one thing? Just drop a Y in the chat if you've ever heard of Gary's book, The One Thing. Yeah. If you haven't read it, it is honestly the top of the must read list. It is life changing, not just game changing, life changing. So I'm just going to share a few quotes with you from the book. And next read list, excellent. So I'm just going to share a few of his quotes because I find them personally very helpful and valuable. So to ignite your life, you must focus on one thing long enough for it to catch fire. It is not that we have too little time to do all the things we need to do all the things we need to do. It's that we feel the need to do too many things in the time we have. Who is guilty? Drop a G in the chat if you were guilty of trying to do cram too much into too little time. I know I am. And in your effort to attend to all things, everything gets shortchanged and nothing gets its due. In other words, multitasking doesn't work. They've actually done studies that show that when you try to multitask, when you try to split your attention like that, it's like you're focused, you've got all your attention here, then you jump to something else and you have to reset your brain to get into that. And then when you go back to the other thing, you lose time having to reset your brain again. So you actually accomplish 10 times less. I don't know the exact percentages, but a whole bunch less by trying to multitask than you do if you focus on one thing, get it done, then move on. Because you can do two things at once, but you cannot focus effectively on two things at once. And I know I am guilty of that like all the time. And I love this. Until my one thing is done, everything else is just a distraction. Just focus on that one thing. I know for me right now, it's about doing boot camp. My one thing is getting this boot camp as absolutely amazing, as high value as possible, because when people leave at me after working with me for 5 days on this free boot camp, I want them to just look at it and go, oh my God, I cannot wait to work with her because it was just such an amazing experience. And that's called The One Thing, and it's by Gary Keller. And Gary is the owner of one of the most successful real estate franchises in the United States called Keller Williams. And he really gets that one thing. Now, this is the other thing that I would really love for you to ask yourself, and look at your clients and ask them, what is the one thing that I can do that by doing it, everything else becomes easier? So what is the one thing that you can focus on that once you get that, everything else becomes easier? And what is that one thing that your clients can get from you that once they get it, everything changes? So this is the book. It's called The One Thing, and it's by Gary Keller. And I'll tell you, when I was doing this with a book club, and we were doing this book, The One Thing, and just the first couple of chapters, my mind was blown. Now, bear in mind, I get absolutely no benefit out of referring this book. I just absolutely love it. It is my favorite go-to. And it changed everything for me. And it's one of those that I still want to go back and reread and take in again, because it's one of those books that you can just read over and over and over again. Okay, so tonight's session is probably one of the shortest that I do. So what I'd love to do is, since we are a small group, is to invite you, if you want to unmute yourself, if there's anything that you feel you have learned tonight that has been of benefit, if it was something that was you hadn't thought of before, or anything that you would like to share, I would love to have your highlights.
Yeah, I can go first if you
Okay,
like.
sure.
Sorry, I just turned on my camera. I love the lead magnet worksheet, the 15 ideas. I haven't seen that before, as detailed as that is. And yeah, I liked all the little picture, the little images, and it looked a little bit pretty. But then you've also, the way that you've made it very simple, like A, B, C, A, B, C. Yeah, it was very simple and really easy to understand for me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I've worked very hard on that. That is kind of my signature with with everything that I do, all of the coaching and the teaching and everything that I do. Is my favorite feedback has been, Kat makes the complex simple.
Yeah, I can see that. You've got a gift for that, because I'm sure mine, if I tried to do it, it would not be that simple.
It takes practice.
Yeah.
You missed my kind of self-introduction from last night, but part of my background is actually working with seniors to become more comfortable with technology. And you learn a lot of patience and you learn how to really slow it down and just really make it simple. Yeah. So,
Awesome.
excellent. I'm glad you're enjoying that. Thank you. Andrea cannot talk because she's at a very noisy place. Totally get that. I'm glad that you're enjoying the boot camp. Is there anything specific that has really stood out for you tonight, Andrea? So feel free to drop that in the chat. And while Andrea's maybe typing, I'm going to ask you, Callista, if there's anything that has stood out for you tonight.
Yeah, that's really helpful and really good ideas. And with Canva, I suppose the thing of putting something together freaks me out, but I love you've given other suggestions. I do I'm like basic 101.
And that's actually okay. So tomorrow, to kind of preview a little bit of what we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow's where we start to get really into the technology, all the different moving pieces that you're going to want to have to run your business, and the difference in the cost between trying to do it yourself and cobble it all together versus an integrated option. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is different things that happen within the Simplify Your Tech community, one of which is master classes on things like Canva, Descript, how to host a Zoom conference, how to, do all these different things. But Canva is definitely top of the list. I get a lot of requests from my Canva class. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Anything else?
No, that was really good. And thank you for the sheets on it. And when you said, about the avatar client, it is something I've been thinking about. And then you mentioned, I'm like, oh, really? But I can see the benefit.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happens. Is it's like everybody's like, oh my God, oops. Oh dear, I just killed my mic. They're like, oh my God, not again. But what I find that two things happen. One, especially, and thank you, I'm glad you're liking that list of lead magnets, Andrea. People, especially newer coaches and newer people to the business, they're like, I don't want to have to spend time doing all of this. I just want to get clients because they just want to get paid. I get that. The money is important. But the reality is, unless you do this work, you're not going to get paid. Like I've worked with a number of virtual assistants, VAs. Okay. And it's like, okay, well, who do you want to work with? Oh, I can work with anybody. Okay. But who do you want to work with? Oh, it doesn't matter. I can work with in any field. And it's true. The skills are fairly universally transferable, which is fine. But if you put out an ad that says, if you're a business owner and you need somebody to do your bookkeeping and your accounting and your lead magnets and organize your calendar and do your social media and all of this, and they're going to go, okay, do you even work with people in my field? Are you a bookkeeper? Are you an accountant? Are you a social media person? Are you, what are you? As opposed to someone who puts out an ad that says, I am a virtual assistant. I support coaches and healers through organizing and scheduling your social media. I'll manage your groups for you and I'll do, this for you. And it's like, oh, okay, that I get. See the difference? So doing this work, as annoying as it can be, is really critical. And the second part of that is 97% of the times I've ever had to sit through ideal client work, they don't go deep enough. They just don't go deep enough. It's all that surface level stuff. And they don't get into what is it that your client needs? What is it your client thinks they need, but they actually need? What is their number one pain that they think it is, but based on your experience, what do you think it is? And then matching that up with your signature system. I've never done anything that does that before, and I find that to be, and the feedback that I've gotten so far is everybody just absolutely loves it. And they're like, yeah, you're right. I absolutely bitched about it in the beginning. But once I did it, I realized it gave me more clarity than I didn't even realize I didn't have that level of clarity, and it becomes like this whole new ball game, which I find really kind of exciting. That really makes me happy when people get those little light bulb moments going.
I think the way you've explained it and the purpose of it, like I've heard it before, but no one said why to do it. It was more, I think it was explained like as in terms of just sales, but not how important it is, because that's going to help you with your lead magnet, your copy, your promos. Yeah.
Could you write that down for me? Can I use that as a testimonial?
Yeah.
Because that's why, okay, when I was first setting up this boot camp, I have a very good friend who is also a business coach, and I was kind of running everything past her. And she knows that my primary thing is I'm a technology coach. I'm a technology coach for coaches. That is what I do. And I showed her my roadmap of the 5 days that I do over boot camp. And she's like, why are you doing these first 2 days on ideal client and lead magnet? She's like, that's not what you do. And I'm like, well, actually, it is a part of what I do. It's an adjunct to the technology. And I said, so I do some level of business coaching. She's like, yeah, but not in this. This is all about your tech. I said, actually, here's why. If you don't know who you're talking to and you don't know how to talk to them, everything else is pointless. And she just kind of went, yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that. And this is a woman who's making high six figures doing business coaching. So, okay. So we lost, what was her name? Jessie, which is a shame. I was actually just going to ask her if she had something to say. So I am going to say thank you so much for joining me for this evening, day 2 of Streamline Your Tech Bootcamp. And I want to just go into a quick moment of the home play for tomorrow. So Oh yeah, let me actually drop in the chat. This is the link to the Facebook group. If you haven't already joined it, please go ahead and do that tonight. Because what I'd love to do is have you go over this worksheet and pick one lead magnet that you want to go all in on for the next 30 days. This is what we're going to focus on to get you your clients over the next 30 days. And I'd love it if you wanted to share that with the Facebook group and let us know what you're working on. And I will see you tomorrow.